Nang iniwan natin ang klase ni Ginoong Veterano sa nakaraang video, nabigo niyang pataasin ang class participation at kalidad ng pag-iisip sa kanyang klase. Tapos, ipinakilala ko si Val Joel na tutulong sa atin upang matutunan ang isang uri ng pamamaraang makapagpapataas sa parehong class participation at kalidad ng pag-iisip. Medyo biniting ko lang kayo ng kaunti at hindi natin tinalaki agad ang pamamaraang ito. Pero ipagpapatuloy natin ang pagtalakay dito ngayon. Matututunan din ni Ginoong Veterano kung paano gawin ang tinatawag na talk and turn. Ano nga ba ang talk and turn? Ito ang isang punto sa klase kung saan maghaharap ang dalawang estudyante at pag-uusapan nila ang katanungan ng guro. Maaring tumagal ang usapan ng 1 minuto o hanggang 5 minuto, depende sa pinagagawa ng guro. Pag-uusapan ni Val kung paano ihanda at ipatupad ang talk and turn. Ang una daw na kailangan gawin ay pag-isipan at pumili ng mapanuring pag-uusapan ng mga estudyante. Pakinggan natin si Val.
One that I've used is students will have a definition of complementary angles.
Why is that good for a turn and talk?
It actually really depends on where it goes in the lesson.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be a good turn and talk if we had just written down what a complementary angle was, and then I was like, okay, tell your partner what it is.
What's wrong with that?
Well, it's a waste of time. Yes.
Okay, why?
Because there's no real thinking that goes on there. It's just sort of regurgitation. And you only have like 50 minutes possibly to make sure that kids actually understand what's going on. So what I would do instead is give them an activity that's a little more explorative. Have them, based on examples, try and come up with their own definition, and then that's where the turn and talk would go. So now that they've like built this evidence for this definition, then they sort of jump into it on their own, and then we solidify.
So this is just more rigorous than simply remembering what you told them about the definition of a complementary angle.
Right.
Got it.
Ang ganda ng halimbawa ni Val. Sabi nga niya, imbis na isulat sa pisara ang kahulugan ng complementary angles upang ulitin lang ng mga estudyante niya, nagbigay siya ng mga halimbawa ng complementary angles upang makagawa ang mga bata ng sarili nilang kahulugan batay sa kanilang obserbasyon. Tamang-tama ito para sa talk and turn. Magbibigay ng sariling kahulugan ang bawat bata, sisikapin nilang ipagkumpara ang kanilang kahulugan at bubuo sila ng isang kahulugan. Ang susunod na kailangan para sa isang mabisang talk and turn ay ang elemento ng ugnayan. Talaga bang mayroong ugnayan at pagbabahaging nakikita habang isinasatupad ang talk and turn? Val?
Yeah, so after you've sort of thought about the outcome and like the value out of this thing happening in your class, you want to start to think about like how it's supposed to happen. And so I would say that the next step there is to think about the relationship between the students. Not like are they friends, but sort of like what is sort of like the thinking relationship in a weird way, to sound extra nerdy. So you want them giving feedback, you want them teaching, or you want them sort of collaborating.
Okay, Val. Ang gusto mong sabihin ay kailangang mayroong ebidensya ng pagsusuri ang mga mag-aaral. Inaasahan ni Val na mayroong teaching interaction, collaborative interaction o kaya feedback interaction na nangyayari tuwing talk and turn. Ang teaching interaction ay nangyayari kung binibigyan ng pagkakataon ang mga mag-aaral na magturo sa kanilang partner. So, bibigyan ng magkaibang problemang sasagutin ang mag-partner. Pag-iisipan ng bawat isa ang kanilang sagot at habang talk and turn, haharap sila sa bawat isa at ituturo kung paano naabot ng bawat isa ang kanilang sagot. Collaborative interaction ang ginamit ni Val sa kanyang halimbawa. Sa kanyang halimbawa, pinag-usapan ng bawat estudyante sa talk and turn kung ano ang kahulugan ng complementary angles para sa kanila batay sa kanilang obserbasyon. Mula sa kanilang magkaibang pagpapakahulugan, bumuo sila ng isang kahulugan. Sa feedback interaction naman, maaring magbigay ang guro ng listahan na dapat isaalang-alang ng bawat isa. Pagkatapos makinig sa sagot ng kanyang partner, magbibigay siya ng kanyang feedback batay sa isang criteria, rubric o checklist. Ngunit, mayroong panganib na dapat iwasan sa talk and turn. Ipaliliwanag ni Val.
What you don't want them doing, for the reason that I said before, is you don't want them sharing. So none of this like, I write my thing down and then I tell you what it is. just because, as I said before, a waste of time. You've already written it, now you're just reading, so you're just wasting class time.
But that's like, I mean, I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but like, you see that, don't you, in classrooms?
Yeah, definitely. You see it a lot. And I think it's because turn and talks are often sort of categorized as an engagement move. It's like, I can get my kids engaged and excited about this if they get the opportunity to talk.
Yeah.
And I agree. It's an excellent engagement move. But I also think that if you're going to make it an engagement move, don't waste it.
Okay, so sabi ni Val, walang kwentuhan lang. Hindi raw okay na maging panahon lang ito ng pagbabahagi ng sariling opinyon, kuro-kuro, o hindi mapanuring pag-uusap. So, ano yung ikatlong bahagi?
Third thing I would say is structure. And I would say this is kind of my favorite one to think about because it gets a little deeper than just like, okay, go. So I think on the surface level, you want to think about like who's talking when. And then you want to be transparent about that. So like naming like person A, person B, or whatever fun things, oranges, apples, whatever.
Really, you teach elementary school.
Yeah, great. And then you decide who's going to speak when. I would say even sort of deeper than that, you want to think about like sentence structure. So like now that you've got them actually turning and talking, you want to think about like how to structure what they're actually saying. So you want to give them either like key vocab that they're supposed to use, so they're not like, I don't know, I'm just going to tell you about my weekend. Or you want to give them sentence starter, like I said, so set them up to actually answer the question to the level that you want. And then you also want to give them strategies like explicit, not just like, oh yeah, think about these things as you're in your turn and talk, but like when you don't know, you say this. When you have differing answers, this is the next step, and sort of give kids a protocol for how to just pursue a conversation.
Binanggit lang ni Val ang dalawang mahalagang bagay tungkol sa estruktura ng mabisang talk and turn. Ang una niyang sinabi ay ang paglilinaw sa tungkulin ng mga mag-aaral. Sino ang nagsasalita at sino ang nakikinig. Ang pangalawa ay ang paggabay sa mga mag-aaral, tumubo ang kanilang husay sa wika at pagsasalita. Binanggit niya na binibigyan niya ang kanyang mga estudyante ng mga paunang pangungusap o sentence starters. Binibigyan din sila ng mga bokabularyong maaaring makatulong sa pagbubuo ng kanilang mga pangungusap. Mayroon ding paalala at gabay kung sakaling hindi umusad-usad ang kanilang pinag-uusapan. Mahalaga ang lahat ng ito sa estruktura ng talk and turn. Val, mayroon pa ba kaming kailangang isaalang-alang sa pagbuo ng maayos na estruktura ng talk and turn?
Yeah, I would say routines around that are super key. It can be a slippery slope into kind of just like ridiculous time wasting, unless you have like a tight routine at the beginning. Like, so for example, one thing that we use here, got it from a teacher named Megan Starzik. She has posture, pivot, powwow, and so it's clear that like kids set up a posture, and then they pivot, and then they powwow. And then within that, I frequently use like partner A, partner B. And before that, I'll be like, partner A, raise your hand. Great, posture, pivot, powwow. And partner A starts talking right away. And then there's like a cue for them to switch. So it's like the expectation is that you are talking for that minute, even if you think you're done. Because you're going to figure out more because there's more to say. Or you're going to ask a question or something like that. Then I do some like hand clappy deal. Kids respond to that, and then I say partner B. Partner B goes. And then from there, there's another sort of hand clap deal where you like can check for 100% and like make sure that like all of your kids are actually with you. Because the last thing you want is like, okay, we're coming back, you're coming back, and like kids are sort of slowly dialing down their conversations. You want to make it, you want to send the message that like this is important and it's important for our class, and so we're going to keep it moving with like the same urgency that we've used all across. So it's accountability. And this is sort of like, honestly, I think one that sort of like can slip off a little bit because of like time in class or whatever. You're sort of like, okay, let's go. I got your answer. Great, 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 great. And you call in a few kids. They share it out. Yay, we learned. Accountability is a little deeper than that. You like want to have sort of accountability that's observable, obviously, but then you also want to send the message that this is important. So you want to hold them accountable also in the classwork. And then I think when you have done this a few times, designing turn and talks that you can hold them accountable for in the exit ticket, in the homework, that you can keep revisiting, those kinds of things are important.
Nagustuhan ko yung sinabi ni Val tungkol sa accountability. Ayaw mo lang daw na maglaho na parang bula ang mga pinag-uusapan sa talk and turn. Inaasahan mo na sana'y may gawin ang mga estudyante sa pinag-usapan nila. So, inilarawan ni Val kung paano sinusulat ng mga bata ang kanilang natutunan sa loob ng talk and turn. Mas maganda daw kung magagamit mo yung pinag-usapan nila bilang isang uri ng assessment. Halimbawa, gamitin ang kanilang pinag-usapan upang kompletuhin ang takdang aralin o gamitin ito upang makapaghanda para sa pagsusulit. Kapag ginawa ito, may dalawang bagay na pwedeng mangyari. Una, paghahandaan ng mga mag-aaral ang mga darating pang talk and turns. Magkakaroon na sila ng ideya kung paano ito pagbubutihin at maseseryoso nila ito. Ang ikalawa, sa kanilang pagsulat ng kanilang mga pinag-usapan, magkakaroon sila ng pagkakataong pag-aralan at iproseso ang mga natutunan. Salamat, Val, sa iyong mga tips. Okay, Ginoong Veterano, sana'y nakikinig ka. Bibigyan ka namin ng isa pang pagkakataon para iangat ang iyong ratio. Tingnan natin kung paano mo ipatutupad ang isang mapanuring talk and turn na sasalihan ng lahat ng mga estudyante.
And pencils down, eyes and ears on me. Great. What I'm going to ask you to do is we're going to spend the next 2 minutes explaining to each other what we see in this painting, where we see church influence in the Wilden Diptych behind us. A's, raise your hands. A's. You are going to spend the first 2 minutes explaining panel on the right to your partner. B's, place your finger on the paper where it says notes. Good. That's where you're going to be taking down the notes that your partner is teaching you. You're going to switch. B's, you're going to be covering the left panel, okay? So, Kawanji, who's speaking first?
A's.
Who's taking notes? Malik?
A's.
Excellent. Good. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. I'll let you know when to switch. Ready? Let's do this. Go.
Sa tingin ko, mahusay ang ginawa ni Ginoong Veterano. Ang pinagagawa niya ay hindi lang basta pakikipagkwentuhan, kundi isang mapanuring pag-uusap. Nagbigay siya ng malinaw na mga hakbang na susundin. Nakita rin natin ang ugnayang pinagagawa niya sa mga estudyante. Natatandaan nyo yung collaborative interaction, teacher interaction at feedback interaction? Isa sa mga ito ang pinagagawa ni Ginoong Veterano. At kung sa tingin nyo, isang teaching interaction ang inaasahan niyang mangyari, tama kayo. Pero paano niya ginagabayan ang mga bata para gawin ito? Una, sinigurado niyang may magsusulat. Kailangan magsulat ng notes ang isa sa partner habang nagsasalita naman yung isa. Ang ikalawa niyang sinabi sa mga bata ay huwag lang basahin kung anong nakasulat kung hindi gumamit ng mga sariling salita sa pagpapaliwanag. Pwede rin daw magtanong. Ang mahalaga ay makita itong gawain bilang isang paraan para magturo sa kamag-aral. Sa tingin ko, 3 bagay ang nagawa ni Ginoong Veterano. Mapanuri ang kanyang pinapagawa. Malinaw ang kanyang panuto. Mayroong interaction na nangyayari. Pero nasaan ang accountability? Ano ang gagawin ng mga mag-aaral sa kanilang natutunan? Bakit kailangang seryosohin ng mga bata ang pinapagawa mo?
So you now have your paragraph and your partner's paragraph. You're going to take all of this information from today about the Wilton Diptych, about Botticelli's Venus, about Vermeer's Girl with a Pearl Earring, and you're going to put all of that information together to show me the changing role of the church in European life during the early, middle, and late Renaissance, and maybe something about the rise of merchants too. Because as we move forward, merchants are going to become increasingly important in this new globalized economic structure. All right, so we really want to be thinking about not just the church, but merchants too. You have till the end of the bell to work, okay? Ready? Let's do this. Go.
Ganun nga, Ginoong Veterano. Hindi siguro maitatatwa pa na talagang maaalala ng mga mag-aaral ang paksa. At paano mo ito nagawa? Hindi lang nakinig ang mga mag-aaral sa pagtuturo mo, kundi nagsulat sila, nagturo sila, at nagsulat uli upang iugnay sa isa pang mas malawak na paksa. Ayos, nagawa mo rin sa talk and turn abutin ang criteria ni Doug Lemov na gumamit ng mataas na ratio ng pagtuturo. Bago tayo magtapos, balikan natin ang formulang ipinakilala ko sa simula. Natatandaan niyo yung kalidad ng pagtuturo at ang dalawang sangkap nito? So, ang nakita natin ngayon ay parehong may makabuluhang pagtuturo at may maayos na daloy ng aralin. Kapansin-pansin na makabuluhan ang pagtuturo. Nagawa ni Ginoong Veterano na pag-isiping mabuti ang mga mag-aaral. Kaya ito naging makabuluhan dahil naging praktikal sa mga bata. Nagamit ng mga bata ang mga natutunang impormasyon upang makapagturo sa kamag-aral. Pangalawa, nagawa ni Ginoong Veterano na maipatupad ang talk and turn na maayos ang daloy. Malinaw na naipahayag ni Ginoo ang mga hakbang at panuto, kaya malinaw rin sa mga mag-aaral kung paano magsisimula. Sino muna ang magsasalita, ano ang kanilang pag-uusapan, ano ang gagawin ng isa habang nagsasalita naman yung isa, at ano ang gagawin sa mga impormasyong isinulat. Walang nasayang na panahon. Naging malinis ang daloy. Ayos talaga si Ginoong Veterano. Ngayon, ikaw naman. Nagbigay ng mga tips si Val. Ipinakita ni Ginoong Veterano kung paano. Ang susunod ay ikaw naman. Gamitin mo ang estratehiyang ito para mapataas talaga ang iyong ratio.